Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the very last MSP Initiative talk, MSP Initiative live talk here in September, because today's September 28th, 2023. That means like in 2 days, maybe three, right? 28, 29, 30, 1st, bam, October. Man, this year is definitely flying. Let's hope that everything stays pretty calm between now and the end of the year, but I'm sure I just jinxed it. That being said, let's
if 31 days show up in September, we got a problem.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Anyway, some housekeeping, right? MSPinitiative.com. Learn how to spell initiative or Google it and then put MSP in front of it and you'll be in the right spot. This session is being recorded. We'll pop it under our podcast and web. You can watch it, online under the sessions tab. So check that out there. That goes all the way back to, I don't know, March of 2020. So hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Community Minds, really, and by the way, thank you, Joel, who's our guest speaker for today, for jumping onto this event as well. We really enjoyed this event. Love the educational format. Just trying to change it up, right? Like the trade show floor, my Lord, needs to be switched up, I think. So Community Minds was great. We really loved it. We're going to do a couple of these next year. Again, everybody that took the chance on our first post bus tour kind of in-person thing outside of these parties. Really appreciate you. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully that'll create a blueprint for everybody to maybe switch it up a little bit. The community block parties got 2 more and they're both in Florida. Sorry. But if you're in Florida, easy to get to. One is next week. That's right. Next, which is October 3rd. I believe that is a Tuesday. So it's the second night. If you're going to DataCon, not after the welcome reception on the first night, it'll be the next night after everything will be our after party. This is the official party. It's on the calendar. If you're going to the conference, you'll see us. If you just happen to be in South Florida and you're an MSP and you want to come hang out, that's okay too. You'll see there's 2 registration links on this landing page. One is for MSPs and IT companies. The other is anybody else who isn't that. It doesn't cost anything to join. If you're an MSP, you could absolutely come and hang out and have a good time. So this is going to be at the Hard Rock, right down, literally you could walk right from the Intercontinental Hotel in Miami to the Hard Rock, right on the water. It's going to be really great. You can have a great time. Now, once you're done with DataCon and you fast forward a month, you're going to head to IT Nation maybe, and we're going to be doing our famous community block party on November 8th. Again, at nighttime, 9 o'clock, at Icon Park. So if you're driving down International Drive in Orlando, get to see a big Ferris wheel. That is Icon Park. We're taking over half of that bad boy, and we're running the MSP Community Block Party, hopefully this year without any rain or tropical storms or airport shutting down. But last year we brought in the All-American Rejects. This year, I mean, every day I keep on thinking we're going to announce it, but we're just this close. 3 radio recognizable late 90s bands that were rubber banding together as a super group. It's going to be really cool. You're going to love it. So stay tuned for that announcement. I already saw the video we're going to post when we do. You'll love it. Some community offers. These are just companies from around the industry that are giving you special deals and hookups. So check it out. Our industry calendar, we're going to be updating this very shortly to go into all of the 2024 dates we've amassed so far. But heads up, guys, just in the US, just in 2023, which isn't even over yet, a little over 230 events. And so it's crazy. If you don't want to be running your IT services company and you just want to be at events all day long, there are plenty of those. So obviously, we're just dumping all of our homework into one place. So you can do, a little bit of less homework because we've already done it for you. Since Joel, who is our guest speaker today from Infima, mentioned it online, here's my bling. Thank you, Eagles, right? I was down in Tampa earlier in the week and looks like my birds are doing pretty good. But then, some of these Florida people were like, oh, don't worry, Miami's doing good. And I'm like, hey, Miami has to come to South Philly this year. So they can go rung up 70 points on the Denver Broncos because I don't know what's going on over there. That's not going to happen here in Philly. So just mark that down, circle it on the calendar. I believe it's October 22nd. You can be watching, 4 o'clock game in Philadelphia. I'll be there. And it's one of the Kelly Green games because they relaunched the jerseys, right? The throwback jerseys in Kelly Green. So I'm just telling you right now, that's going to be the hot ticket, Joel. Just gonna be honest.
Look, I'm excited to live vicariously through your LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, I do move around a bit. No joke. Fly like an eagle. There you go.
There it is.
There you go. No, yeah, it's a busy time of year. And October into November is just machine gun, no question. Like September, October, November, like maybe first week of December. It's kind of for some reason like everybody pushes all their chips into those dates. So I don't know. Maybe somebody should reorg the calendar, but I feel like more and more events show up every
No,
day.
I think it's more getting added in. There's like finding that little free space and just sliding it right in. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I can't. I gotta. And then you overlay the NFL schedule on top of the calendar, and it's like, when do I get time? I gotta sleep.
most importantly,
Yeah. I try and sleep on planes. I don't know. It does work for me. I digress. So Joel, this is like your fourth, or I think fourth or fifth episode with us. We've talked to you a ton, which is not a bad thing, right? Because like, a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, by the way. By the way, from a marketing and branding standpoint, your branded sneakers thing, I think did pretty good for you. I think that was yeah, there it is.
Oh man, we've had some fun with our 3 kicks right here. Yeah.
we had a lot of partners rocking these things. I'll be honest, I had not worn high tops it sometime in the last 30 years or ever, I'm not sure. It's a bit of a workout. It's good, really. It's kind of like, putting little of those weights on your ankles as you're doing some jazzercise, but just walking around the exhibit floor. So
They kind of remind me of the sneakers from Back to the Future that had like the automatic laces, right? I mean, so
yeah, I don't want to give away too many things about what's coming in the future, but no, we've had a lot of fun with it. The shoes, and we got some jerseys that came out, and there's some good stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool part about this little industry that we all live in, the sandbox, right? Like, gotta have some fun with it, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be rigid, right? With I don't know, the pens and the bouncy balls. I know Jen, who's behind the scenes, loves the koozies. It's all good. You gotta get a little crafty sometimes, So I love that. That's cool.
Well, thanks. We've had a lot of fun with it. Our team's kind of gotten excited to do it. But exactly to your point is, we started this business because we wanted something that we could enjoy, kind of a journey that we would like. It's an experiment, always starting a business, but something that you can really have fun with. And being only in the channel and just focused on the MSP partners, like it's great. Like you really can have fun with them. Then it's like people kind of understand the company personality and our personalities, and when it jives, it's great, and so we've had a lot of fun, like kind of coming out of our shell and trying some of these things.
I mean, and part of the reason why it's so easy for you to have that fun is you don't have to fly anywhere. All the stuff's in Florida.
Yeah, they just come right to us. It's really nice.
I mean, like your travel budget is probably a quarter of everybody else's.
Yeah. No, it's basically free. We it's just down the street. We just walk, all that. No, it is nice. ConnectWise comes around our way a couple of times a year. The exchange groups and all the rest of that. So really convenient for us. I complain when we have to start flying out west.
Yeah, good on you for that, because as for somebody that has to fly out of the Northeast, lots of direct flights, no argument there, but sometimes it sucks when you got to go all the way across.
Yes, yeah. And with connection or with cancellations happening a bit more often, I'm really happy to be right about here. So
let me, since we're on the topic of travel, let's ask you a couple questions, because like I usually throw these in there somehow anyway. What is it whatever's the cheapest, most direct flight, or do you stick to a specific airline?
That's a great question. I am focused on the time. It's time and direct flight, because I'm not building up the same amount of points that you are. Like you probably walk on to United and they actually do give you that gold chain over your neck.
They definitely don't. I by the way, I backed into United status because I didn't realize I was flying them, I guess, as much as I like. So rewind. Philly is primarily used to be US Airways, right? And then American bought them, and then it was still a hub, right? And then you get a lot of Southwest runs through Philly too. Then you get like the Frontier and Spirit and whatever. And like once they, for some reason, going into this year, they like moved a lot of their direct flights out of Philly. Right. So I'm like, oh, the planes leave Philly, but I got to take a connector everywhere. I'm like, I don't need connectors. I need to get where I'm trying to go. So started running a lot of my flights out of Newark. Right. Instead of going down, I go this way. And like, you know, it's pretty heavy United, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. And like, I did a bunch of overseas stuff right in Europe this year. United flies to a lot of those places. And I backed into status with United, right? Because I really have status with American.
Thing.
And I was like, I got a video one day and it's like, hey, congratulations. I was like, for what? What did I do? I know. But if you ask
They're like, thanks for all your money.
Yeah, if you ask Stanners, he's Mr. Delta. He doesn't want to fly anything but Delta. And I'm like, you're not exactly in like a major airport, pal, right? You're like in a smaller regional airport. So you're going to be taking connectors everywhere.
Yeah, I do not want to connect as much as I can avoid it. So I always kind of look at it. I'm in a race to get back home so that I can hang out with my little 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old. It goes quick. So that's kind of the thing that drives it for me. I want to minimize the time away. But I can get it if if you had some status and you kind of get that first class and perks and stuff like that, what's a free drink worth,
Apparently a lot. That's all I got to say. So I was just talking to somebody earlier, and I guess Volkswagen Group, all of their plants got shut down because I guess they got hit. And like maybe about a month ago, you had the whole MGM casino hotel thing that just happened, which is still pretty fresh. So like, like it's just who's next, right? Like just keeps going, right? We all joke about, oh well, everybody's finally starting to figure this out, and like it's getting a little bit, it should come down, right? I'm like, I don't know. I think it keeps going. It's like keeps happening.
Yeah.
And like it just seems like it's getting worse, not better.
As we I think the last time that we talked to me around here, there was a lot more of that fanfare coming out about, ChatGPT and some of the AI tools. I think it was right around the same time, when Elon and Zuckerberg were talking about a cage match, which
whatever happened to that? I really was looking for.
Man, maybe that was on pay-per-view and I missed it. I don't know, but I would have paid for that one.
Yeah. It seems to be getting worse.
It is.
And like big names are showing up in the headlines. And like I keep having to remind people that think about how many small businesses actually are affected in a similar way that never make it to anywhere, in the press,
right,
online, for every big company name that shows up. It's exponential, right? Like 100x, 1000x, right? Actually, just yesterday, in my MSP mailbox, somebody spoofed SonicWall's domain.
There it is. Yep.
And was like, hey, you need to pay your bill. And I'm like, I'm on auto pay. What are you talking about? And they're like, oh no, you have to ACH us. We don't take credit card anymore. I'm like, and I went back and I looked at the link and I'm like, oh, that's clever. They put like an extra I in it.
It's easy to sneak those in. Absolutely.
So like, you don't even think about it, right? You're replying on your phone, or you're just zooming through emails and you're like, what are these guys talking about? And like, well,
you're doing a little advertisement for Infima right now, which I appreciate. But on the AI stuff, I think it just did, as we step back, because it's become a really hot topic for the MSP community. Because there's a lot of great productivity tools. I mean, really great productivity tools out of it. We write a lot. We put a lot through ChatGPT or others so that you can, sometimes just improve it, kind of change the tone, things like that. You can do some great stuff there. You also get lots of great ideas. You can outsource lots of different thinking to it. But, one of the craziest and most frightening now is some of the, we've called them deep fakes, but where you can mimic voices and stuff. And it's just happening in real time now. What seemed really interesting when NVIDIA showed that they had a chip where they could show, like, if you're looking away in a photo, they can always just bring your eyes right back. And like, that was really cool. Well, now I was watching a video where a guy's just speaking in English and then suddenly it flips over into Hindi and he's like, and like the caption's like, I don't speak Hindi, but it sounds perfect, and his mouth is moving, not like he's speaking English words. So some stuff starts to get a little spooky. And so it's interesting. That's some of, what we do is training, and we don't have to get into that so much, but it means that it forces us to focus some more on some of these things that are creeping into our world, where, there are plenty of clips of George Bardisi talking, and
A lot of them.
lots, too many, right? And so somebody could recreate anything that's in your voice, it's really remarkable. And so it forces us to take those steps back and validate, where the social engineering is going to get turned up. Phishing is always going to be there, the sonic wall, stuff like that. That's always going to be there. And the last point there that I'll make is, as people continue to have longer and longer data trails that they've left on social media, there's just every day, there's just more ammo. There's just more stuff they can piece together. There's somebody who could back into figuring out exactly how many miles you have and what your status is on United, because they can see the little charts that you posted,
Those charts work so well.
Yeah, I don't know how many secret admirers you have who are doing so, but it's out there, it's available. There's really remarkable attacks that are brewing. There's some really great thought leaders who are sharing this too.
I forget what, I think it was a TV show or movie I was watching. It's like, once you get to about 100 data points through social, they could, it was Rabbit Hole on Paramount, right? With the guy from 24, Kiefer Sutherland.
Okay.
And
My TV doesn't go on.
Okay. And so he's like, in the show, they created a company like that, like takes all the social media points and starts to like do all the social engineering and collect data on it, right?
All right.
And so they're like, after 100 data points, they know you better than your spouse. That's what they're saying. And I'm like, that's scary. Like, how long has people been on like Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram, all these tools? That's way more than 100 data points. It's thousands of data points. So
absolutely,
it's a little bit scary. I gotta let Keith Nelson in here. Hold on.
All right,
Keith, you lost the Cardinals.
I have told you always, I hate McCarthy. He's the most unmotivating individual in the world. He's more worried about a cheeseburger than getting his team ready. And that's one of the knocks on my team. They come out uninspired. They always seem to lose to games they should win and play up for games they shouldn't. I think he's a horrible coach, but he can be Jerry Jones's bitch.
I gotta tell you, I was shocked, because we're definitely not Jonathan Gannon fans here in Philadelphia, right? He was our defensive coordinator, decided to like not show up for the Super Bowl for some reason. A lot of people still blame him for the loss in the Super Bowl last year. I blame the carpet, the slip and slide that everybody was playing on, but I digress. And so like when he won this past weekend against Cowboys, I was like, I don't know how we take that here in Philadelphia. We really don't like this guy, but he beat the Cowboys. So does that, we almost have to like him for a weekend? I don't know, but I digress.
I don't know if he beat, they played good. You have to give him kudos, but we played like crap. You're not scoring in the end, you're not scoring in the green. You're not scoring. No one really lifts the team. And I don't know what we were doing defensively. We made their running game look like the best thing ever.
I don't know. One thing I got to say about the Florida teams, like when Tom Brady's not there, I don't know if you see this all the time, Joel. Stadium kind of goes, I think it said 59% of all tickets sold for the game were to Philadelphia fans. And for the game on Monday night, and I was like 59%.
That's impressive.
I was like, you guys, you just go to the beach. You don't have anything, like football's not a thing. I don't know. I did.
Well, what's his name? Thanked Philadelphia for the presentation. Barber.
Yeah.
Thanks for driving down.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah. I'm not a fan, by the way, for obvious reasons, right? One of his 2 Super Bowls was because he ran through Philadelphia on a game that they should have lost back in 2002, but I digress. Let me go to,
I don't know why he had any loyalty to Philadelphia.
Hold on. Since we're on the sports topic, let's go this way. Ready? I'm gonna integrate the 2 conversations here.
There we go.
The MLB is really pushing heavy into it right now, but it's coming to all the leagues where you can do facial recognition for your ticket. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd rather just stay in line and you can scan my damn phone, with the e-ticket than you having to take facial recognition as like, what are you doing after you take that, right? Like, I guess like they tokenize it, but like, I wonder.
They have like a bust, they have a George bust somewhere,
I'm just saying, like, are we giving? It feels like we're losing a lot of privacy things here in order for convenience.
Yeah.
And like, no offense, but I'm not showing up at 2 minutes before kickoff, right? Like, I'll just wait. I'll show up on time and I'll just go through the normal process.
And Keith, I'm actually curious on your thoughts on this too, but I do think the train's left the station on it. Like, I just am like, it's out there.
I would say we look at things because we know, right? It's just like you talk to a dentist about your teeth, he knows more than you. The average person is looking at, is it quicker? Is it convenient? Is it kind of cool? And the security risks don't resonate. And that's why I think you have all the breaches you're going to have, is there's people looking at it and saying, this will make my life better. And they don't dig as deep as we do. I bet you if you troll the average
it's one of the
guy,
reasons
he goes, oh, I can get to line quicker, I'll go for that.
Yeah, but hold on. I've held off on clear, like where it's like pre-check, but like you go in, they scan your eyes, and then like they like walk you to the front of the line. I was like, I'll just wait the 10 people in the pre-check line. I don't need to be walked to the front of the pre-check line. It's cool. But like now they have your eyes, and it's like, all right, now we have the DNA, we have the face scan, we have the thumbprint, we have the eye. What am I going to do? A blood sample now? What's going on?
I'll tell you about clear it because I have keratoconus.
What's that?
I degenerative eye disease. That's why I can't see that well. It's so my cornea is misshaped. Every time I do it, I have to do the fingerprint.
Oh,
they never can match my corneas.
Wait a minute, I didn't know this. So with clear, if they can't do the eye scan, there's a fingerprint pad.
Yeah, and you can refuse the eye scan. And I do it because me, I like zero travel grief.
Well, we know. See, Keith is the guy that's always on the same airline. He's taking the limo to the, but of course, that's just the status quo for him.
Well, when you're flying private, you can always do that, right?
He's not. He's flying. He's just flying first class everywhere. Pete pops in and says, and that will be run by TSA. I mean, I assume that you've seen.
That's interesting.
You've seen in all these cases where the government buys cell phone data from AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile,
right,
so that they can figure out all of the towers and location data and whatever. So like, what's stopping that? Yeah, he's saying on the MLB comment, like private company, right? I got to assume that they're going to give up that data, right? Like, not to go too wide into it, but like, there's a lot of subpoenas that come through that I hear where you're not allowed to tell the person that's being targeted. So if Microsoft or Google, for example, asks for your emails, how often do they just say, okay, here you go? And they don't even tell you, right? Like now you apply that to this stuff. I mean, and let's be clear, with the whole SolarWinds thing that happened a couple of years back, the government stuff's not 100 either, right? Like it's out there. They got the same problems as everybody else. So I don't know, man. It's getting like we're past Big Brother, right? Like this is
yeah. That's a whole different conversation these days.
No, just like it's like from a security, privacy, and like if somebody in clear headquarters clicks on the wrong thing, and then all of a sudden their database is exposed.
Right.
Do you go to a 3D eye printer and they print out your? I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing.
Well, fortunately, we don't have access just through our eyes just yet, but maybe one day. But like still, one of the most important things that each one of these compromises, these breaches does is it just fills out more of a profile for the social engineer. A lot of the fear had been that somebody was going to get your social, and then they're going to get all your information, and then they're going to take like a home loan out in your name.
They do that. Remember the LifeLock guy? The CEO of LifeLock was like had one of those trucks in Times Square and was like try and steal my identity, and like in one day 12 people stole his identity.
Yeah, if you actually try to get a mortgage now, if you're legit, it's very difficult. So there's some things that have procedurally stopped some of the nonsense. And if your credit card gets out, it's annoying. but your credit card isn't gonna, I mean, it's a fraudulent charge. I got a phone call the other day and they were asking me if I had spent, $500 on a limo and $250 on flowers and stuff. And I
It
was like,
sounds like Keith Nelson took your credit card.
it might have, it sounds like you had a great date night. Yeah.
That's right. Well, you got to use the limo.
That's right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it though.
I mean, so back to the whole, again, MGM was a month ago, and then Volkswagen was yesterday. Like, so I think I read somewhere a week ago that Sony, all Sony stuff, has been, hit it some way. Like, do you just unplug the router and go home? Like, at this point, it doesn't, like, no matter your size, it all still comes down to, I feel like the person between the chair and the keyboard, right? Like, I don't care how much security there is. It just always seems to come back to that 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. The biggest driver that we see of people purchasing our product is security insurance, cybersecurity insurance. And ultimately, those insurers, they make sure that they keep some flexibility, in how the payout looks. So, hey, did you do security awareness or training? Oh, okay, cool. Well, now show us the log of everybody. What courses did they take? And ultimately, you start to run into issues if somebody hired 10, one of your clients hired 10 people, 6 months ago, somebody forgot to enroll them. They didn't get involved. They didn't get their training emails. And one of those people is who clicked and opened the door and blah, 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 because somebody could have created a great social engineering story through all of the data breaches that they've gotten all the information and on the stuff that's publicly available on social media. All that leads to one of those new hires who didn't get enrolled into security awareness training. The insurance company sees it, claws it back. I mean, that, the insurance has been such a big driver of a lot of security spend. And for us in our world, that's what we see a lot of, because one of the most expensive parts is the notification. Even if, MGM and Volkswagen, they get things. I mean, it's terrible being over in Europe for Volkswagen. It's bad, but it's even worse, for anybody falling under GDPR. And so the notification and the steps that you then have to take for remediation, obviously the business loss was enormous. I mean, the videos that I saw, people just couldn't even play games, at MGM. Like, that's every second they're losing money.
But I said this on another call, but I'm gonna say it again. Why are all the slot machines and all the electronic games all networked? Like, isn't that, like, oh, George is about to hit. Let's just click this button right here, make sure that, like, I gotta think that kind of stuff could happen now.
I don't see how it couldn't happen. I don't know. I'm sure that we could talk to somebody from the gaming authority and they tell us exactly how, the rigor that they go through to make sure that things are above board. I don't know. I'm not much of a participant. But ultimately, as you said, it's between the keyboard and the computer, and that's the sad reality of it. But it's a great opportunity for what we do. And at the end of the day, humans always have been and always will be vulnerable to some form of exploitation. We are not robots. We are not perfect, and it's just in our nature. It's just part of it. And we're in this golden age of hacking where they have tons and tons of targets and they can get so much money. I mean, if Bitcoin or digital currency were not a thing, it'd be so much harder. That's where it went from hacktivism to actually a proper business, because you can, wiring dollars overseas is really hard, and you're going to get shut down if a hacker's trying to exploit you for, 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever. But there's nothing that stops a transaction on Bitcoin's network. And then once they have it, they can go do what they wish.
It's almost like, kind of like you see in the movies, right? It's like, oh, they VPN from this country to this country to this country to this country, and then finally got hit. And so, like, it makes it harder to go find back where they are. With Bitcoin, right? Like, you can move that between multiple wallets on, like, pretty instantly, right? And then by the time they even go to start looking for you, they're long gone.
Right. And if you just make sure that you're in the right jurisdiction, that we can't do anything about, then it's gone. And I mean, it's just flat out gone. They've tried to do some, there's some of these like tornado cash, like these mixers that really do obfuscate everything that somebody has done. So you can't even find out really where the money came in, where the money came out, but the US has put that on the OFAC list so that, could basically considering it supporting terrorists, because North Korea used a lot of that for basically laundering money that they've, stolen through these hacks.
The other thing, and maybe this is a little bit sideways information, but I remember reading somewhere that like there's a deadline coming somewhere next year where like you have to report to the government like any beneficiary underneath of a company so that they could like stop the whole shell company thing, right? So like I didn't read through all the requirements, but like basically it's like a $10,000 fine. Doesn't matter what size company you are. And like it escalates if you don't report who are all of the people involved from a, equity or, like who stands to gain from the company's operation. And I guess that's part of some sort of, hey, let's make sure that this is a legit operation rather than somebody just firing up a fake company kind of thing.
It sounds a little bit more maybe driven by the IRS, but
Well, they said, the IRS just came out, did you see last week? And they said that they're going to start using tax GPT, right? They're going to start using AI to go through all the tax data to start finding more people to go after.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had some fun with them. They really good people, really good people.
Somebody told me they're still running Windows XP.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that doesn't make me feel very safe for whatever data they're looking at.
Sometimes if you can use something that's so outdated, that the hackers just don't have a tool set. Unfortunately, XP is not without its vulnerabilities. So
yeah, somebody was telling me that the banking industry, like we have all these cool mobile apps, deposit from phone, all this, whatever, but like underneath of any bank, they're still running like AS400, servers, which is, not new technology by any means. And the integration between the AS400 servers that the banks run and the front end that all of the consumers are using is still written in COBOL.
Keith, weren't you telling us about that when we talked last?
We're still at a point. I just had someone ask me a big base.
I think your connection's a little shaky, Keith.
Yeah. How much do we save if we do all the security? It's really not quantitative, right? There's people looking at a risk proposal. And I always wish there was a chart that said, well, if you do this, your insurance premium comes down this much. That's what I hear them looking for is give me a number I can quantitate that says by doing all this, I'm going to save this much wear. How much is saved in risk? How much is saved in reducing premiums? And I know there's a number. I just never seen anyone really go through it and do it all.
I mean,
and that would be interesting.
They don't really release the actuarial table or the underwriting guidelines, do they? Right? Like, hey, if I do MFA, but I don't deploy security awareness training, that means it's going to go up by X. Like, I'm sure there is a number, but like, we don't all know that number, right? Like, I know people proactively ask for what will their premium be on the next renewal. And like, they can try and jump the shark a little bit to go ahead of time. But other than that, like, there is no Excel spreadsheet that we all get that say, well, I can skip on this and it'll only raise it by X. Like, I'm sure the idea is that they don't want that out so that you do everything.
I just don't think anyone's taken a pencil to it. I mean, it'd be interesting to find out that.
I mean, but
insurance companies are still learning how to rate these things. They're pretty new in this, right? They got people that really don't know IT all of a sudden doing IT-ish stuff. Have you ever gone through a questionnaire with an underwriter?
I think you're the only person that's mentioned that so far, but like, I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I could get to an underwriter to have the conversation.
Well, honestly, if you go through a questionnaire, most of them aren't yes or no questions. They need an explanation. It's not that simple, right? And so it needs to be, explained. And like I've told you before, the federal government under machines, CNC machines connected, and you're going, well, they can't be ring fenced, they can't be locked down. They're the soft. And so you're going, you're telling me I have to break your own rule. And so those are things you just can't answer yes or no. You have to say, here's the best I did this in this situation to secure it. I'm surprised other people haven't had those discussions. I've always been,
I mean, Joe, you talk to a lot of people on this topic, I'm sure, but like, again, maybe Keith Nelson just has the right guy, right? But like, for every insurance questionnaire that gets sent in, I got to think I could, it's infinitesimally small, that somebody was able to get through the agent, through the actual insurance company, to the actual person under, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of red tape and layers there.
I don't know. I just don't think people ask, because you look at the end of the game, the sales guy wants to write the policy. He just wants a friggin' commission. And so when you say I can explain this and get the premium where it's bought, I've always seen him wanting to do it. I'm shocked it's the other way, to be honest with you, George.
Oh, there's something too. If you don't ask, you can't get. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just life, right? But maybe everybody should try this now. Be like, hey, before I'm looking at this questionnaire, I got questions. Can I talk to the underwriter? What do you got to lose? All they can tell you is no.
Yeah, I
say-
mean, if you got to know, you got to know. You can't get any worse than the know you already got, right?
Maybe there's not enough of them out there, but I wonder where this gets to like a Geico. It's like, hey, hey, if you go with us, it's this, but here are all the other guys too, right? And they like, I wonder if there's a way where like you can fill out one application, one set of information, then it goes out to multiple carriers and you get quotes back and you play the game. It's kind of like you apply for a loan, right? You can go to like Lending Tree or whatever, and then they can check for multiple banks and give you 10 options, right? Like, I don't know if it ever gets to that point, but it would be interesting to see if there's any standard at some point for how these insurance companies gather the information.
Yeah, it would be.
We've seen some standardization. The guys at Data Stream have done some of that, where you can get your application in front of a bunch of different carriers at once. And so that's nice, but it still doesn't answer the question of, well, what do I really need to get out of this? What can I cut out that won't raise my premium? If this thing costs $5, but it only raises my premium $1, let me do that thing. I'm going to pull that one piece out and I'll keep the other things in there.
Mhm.
What ultimately, and we touch the insurance industry some. And so what we've continued to see, until you get to very, very large policies, but otherwise, for the SMB market generally, it's fill out this application. We'll let you know if you are approved and what your rate is. We can only see it once we get everything in, because we've got to feed it into the black box. That allows them to make any decision that they desire. They can, if their actuarial tables are changing because the latest attack actually has really moved the needle in some regard, and so it makes MFA more important, or whatever it is. But broadly speaking, we are at least seeing that you can get some more generic application out. It still takes a while, but you can get a generic application out. The challenge still is it's opaque as far as, like when you're getting your home insurance, there are certain things that you have to have. There are certain things that if you do have them, whether it's fire sprinklers or other, that can, reduce your premium, and that's helpful because you can actually get clarity there. I think we're a ways away still on that, seeing it here.
What about like Cork is a new player on the scene, right? Where it's like they're changing the word insurance to warranty, right? Because like the word insurance has stipulations tied to it.
Right.
They're changing it into the word warranty. And then they're basically using the integration play to say, all right, well, you're going to sign into all your various vendors, right? It could be, you, Joel, for security awareness, could be whatever the, endpoint protection is, maybe the firewall or 365 account, whatever, spam filtering and, SOC, SIEM, whatever. And then like they sign into all your stuff and then they pump out a price because they can actually go past just a yes, no question to what do you actually have in place?
We're seeing this and working on several integrations with other vendors specifically around this kind of concept. There's a lot of interest, because Kaseya kind of took the reins and said, if you work in our ecosystem, you can have the insurance. If you don't, then you can't.
I didn't realize that's how that worked.
I'm butchering that, but in just very broad strokes, but it's forced a lot of vendors to say, well, hey, like, I don't know if Kaseya is going to, let us into that walled garden. So we might need to do something about this. But again, cyber insurance is just a big driver of the purchase decision. It used to be the question of, okay, well, how can I get my insurance premium down because if I add this or that thing. Now it's more so, well, if I don't have certain ones, we're just not getting it. And you don't really know, again, and maybe if you could fill out the application, 15 different ways, you'd start to be able to kind of like pick apart some of the models. But even at that, their model, their pricing does change fairly dynamically as they're taking on other policies and these insurance companies will take certain risk buckets. And so as that changes, but if you did it over a short period of time, maybe you could. I haven't tried that. That would be an interesting experiment. But
By the way, don't you do that with your personal insurance? Like just this morning, I'm insuring another car, and my agent said, "Dude, you're going to be paying out of the roof. Are you getting rid of a car?" And I said, "No." And he came back and gave me a price. I said, "Tell the underwriter, like the Suburban I've driven 3 times last year. The truck is only when I haul the boat. I drive my car. I have the boat." And he goes, "Yeah, let me think about that." I go, "I'll send you pictures of all my odometers." And they compared it to last year and they said, "It's true." He goes, your Suburban, you drove 1,200 miles last year. And they gave me a reduced rate across the board. So I think it is maybe just people don't ask.
I'm sure people don't ask.
right.
There's no question. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just set it and forget it. Although everybody's telling me that the insurance questionnaires come every year, right? Like just because you have cyber insurance this year doesn't mean that you're automatically, everything's.
There's a lot of non-renewals happening.
Yeah.
And remember, I live in California. We're like banned by every insurance company. So it is maybe more negotiable.
Is that
like
right?
5 companies pulled out of California. You can't get homeowners insurance. You can't get auto insurance. A lot of the business, our regulations are too high because we have that awesome governor.
I
Yeah.
hear exactly what you're saying. Okay, well, that's good to know. Like California is a weird place.
Yeah.
Nice beaches, weird place. It'll be interesting to see, like back to the whole, what do they do with that data, right? So the warranty, insurance, whatever you want to call it, right? They're going to sign into all your stuff, integrate, just like we do with all the other tools. They're going to collect data to make a decision. Is that like when you call up your car insurance company and you plug in the adapter into the port and then like they say, hey, like you could drop your insurance by 20%. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, you're a really bad driver, Keith. That's 1,200 miles in your truck. You just stop hard a lot, like a lot of braking hard, no turn signals. You're going a little bit faster than we like. Now, all of a sudden that discount turned into a pain in the ass tax. Like what do they do with the
I know
data?
I know you have to sign an agreement to get that rating. That is a good question. Could they converse it against you?
I say yes.
Yeah.
I know that in California, they wanted Tesla to turn over driving information because, California said we want all these electric vehicles. Then they said, oh, wait, we're losing all the gas tax. So they wanted to do a mileage. You heard about that, right? They want to do no, we won't turn over the data because included in that data for Tesla is your driving habits.
Mhm.
Because you have to pass the number, you have to pass that certain level to get the different levels of automatic driving. So yeah, I mean, it is available. And there's other cars that have that now.
It's funny because I was watching a clip with Mr. Wonderful, and he said that his son works for Tesla, and he's like, "Why don't you invest in Tesla?" It's like, I'm not I don't really invest in car companies. He's like, Tesla's a data company,
Yeah.
so you're
And
driving
Teslas are for
driving a camera.
text. Remember that. Teslas are for text.
Yeah, that's right. Keith Nelson doesn't drive Tesla. That's for his techs. Keith Nelson goes over here, right? He's Mr. He like instead of Mr. Delta, he's Mr. Mercedes.
No, I'm driving the Porsche now.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah. And what's the
Sounds
watch?
like you're driving a few things, Keith.
Yeah, like what's the watch today? Not the Rolex, right?
Having a boat.
We used to buy those when I was in high school. All us high school kids were walking around with that exact same Rolex.
Yeah. I was never really a watch guy. I felt like it would
I don't
just
think I had thousands of dollars in high school.
Yeah.
you didn't have a high school scheme, Joe?
I mean, it was, my high school scheme was a little different, I think.
Okay. My high school theme was, or I remember I did a lot of stuff. Like I remember I would bring in, here's a cool quick story. Like you forget your lunch and they're like, oh, we'll give you a milk, like a little 8-ounce milk, chocolate milk and a pretzel. And it's like, I'll bring like, $2 into school next day. And I was like, man, I'm getting ripped off. Like this juice box is only 8 ounces or only 6 ounces. But if I bring in a soda can, it's 8 ounces, right? So like I started bringing like an extra can of soda and then it turned into 2, 3, 4. At one point I was selling thousands of dollars a month in soda, 50 cents a can. It worked.
Like you're bringing a wagon in or something? Like
I'd bring in like duffel bags of soda with orders.
You're the man.
That's beautiful.
That is so awesome.
I'm to the point where like there's nothing wrong with what I was doing. I wasn't breaking any rules, but like I had apparently affected the cafeteria's revenue stream for the school.
Yeah. Well,
So
I don't know what the statute of limitations is for the IRS, but you might have just made an admission that they're interested in.
Listen, I wasn't even at working age. You have to go figure it out. Change.
No, but I think the question's taxing age versus working age.
You don't know when and you don't know how much. But that being said, to the point where the school was like, we'd like you to stop selling soda. You're affecting the cafeteria.
Plus, they didn't go into a JV with you, like, hey, we'll fund this,
Yeah. And I was like, well, see, you hurt yourself, right? You took out the soda machines. You tried to sell everybody milk. And like, I get it, it does the body good, but like, you should have went back to the milk guy and told him to make sure it was the same, 8 ounces, right? Like, don't jip me 2 ounces, man.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up. I was just meeting with the advisory, the LCAP, and they're talking about finding parents more because students aren't
All right, you broke up there. Finding parents.
attendance since COVID when they basically.
Yeah.
And so I said, here's a novel idea that you won't think in government. Why don't you make school better so people are motivated to attend it instead of your first action is being punitive, and that is the government. Don't mitigate the problem. Let's just legislate it.
No, this is carrot and the stick, right? But yeah, if I'm genuinely interested in going into school, I'm going to be there, right? If I'm not, find something else to do.
That's right. And if it's if it's not worth your while, you're probably not going to do it.
There's an idea, Joel. How can you make your security awareness training more intriguing to your end user? You put like let them play like a little game for 5 minutes on their screen, or maybe.
So we do legitimately spend a lot of time talking through this, and how do you do something that gets them engaged, that makes them actually want to do it? Then they come back and they're delighted and they come back to the MSP. Great. Awesome. Thanks. One of the real challenges is that, and you'll find this with every MSP, is that every one of their clients wants something different. One client might be like, yes, gamify the junk out of this thing. Go, go, go. Then another one might be just like, get this thing done. I don't want them wasting any time. So we've got a few different variations on things that we offer of the same content, but it there is no one size fits all. Some people love seeing something that's like highly animated and they want something like dramatic. And then there's a lot who are just like, do not give us a video, because we know that people just put the video on in the background and then it doesn't do us any good. And so there's a lot of camps there. We actually spent a lot of time researching with University of Florida.
Maybe you do like a point system, like the credit card rewards, right? You know, for everyone that you don't get spoofed, that you don't get, you know, fooled by the spoof, you know, you get points, and the points go into the store, and then you can buy stuff.
Yeah. Go get orange soda that George is selling on the corner. I mean, you know, that takes a lot of buy-in then from the organization, that they've got to have some way of tracking, you know, like we can produce all of that stuff, but there have been a lot of bottlenecks there that we've not yet come up with creative solutions for, say that where we could, you know, some of the gamification is approachable, but you also, if you kind of just go in a half-hearted way, nobody really buys into it, does anything with it. But you know, Who's done a good job within the channel of doing some of that kind of stuff. You know,
Oh, that's right. They do that with, like, if you get so many reviews and stuff. Totally forgot. That's a good
Isn't
mind.
it funny that we even have to have that conversation for us that are older? Years ago, it was like, you want to work here, you do this, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And now it's like, well, you have to negotiate it. How many days a week
It's
do you
back
want to come to work?
It's back to that whole, the mindset of the younger generation, right? And like, they just, I always got the stick, right? You know, and I'm still fairly young, and I remember going back to how I grew up. I got the stick. That's how I learned. But they definitely go into the more of the engagement carrot model these days. Let's be honest. It's like, let's find a way to make it, you know, comprehensive for all. And it's like, oh, okay.
Well, we got a lot of sensitivities that we can't, you know, we can't ruffle and make somebody feel like they might not have gotten the answer right. So
Yeah, but
the math teachers say that 1 + 1 may not be 2.
But the
So
hacker doesn't give out, you know, when you get spoofed and you click on the link and something bad happens, you know, like, there's no the participation trophy, right? I mean, like,
no, unfortunately, a lot of the hackers, I think they grew up in a little different environment where that's just not a thing, you know. So they're there just to viciously win in any way that they can.
yeah, you're
but-
gonna get beat up. That's what it is. They're gonna beat you up. They're gonna take your lunch money, and they're gonna go home. I don't know where the at that point, like, it's you know, survival of the fittest, right? Like, they don't care.
No, they don't care.
Hmm.
And when somebody's halfway around the world, especially, it's, you know, and I think what contributes to it is a lot of these attackers are in areas where they grew up and being told that Americans are actually bad, that Americans are some kind of enemy. And so it's, you know, it's somewhat ingrained in them that and you can't say with all of them, but there is a large portion that they've actually been told that Americans are like bad people. And so, you know, doing this, you know, doing a bad thing to a bad person doesn't feel bad to people.
Okay, I got what you're saying. I hear you.
I'm not advocating that as like a moral ethic, but I think that there's some truth to it.
I got you. Well, one thing's for sure. They are definitely teaching people how to use computers at a level that I would say that most people in this country have no clue that half the stuff exists. That's the truth.
Sure. That's true.
You know, they're like, oh, my Twitter account got hacked. Who cares? You know, not, you know, but if your Venmo account gets hacked, you're gonna care.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that.
Just like, you know, I think when it's all said and done, that's what makes this whole MSP IT thing so damn hard, right? Because we're trying to care, do the right thing, follow the best practices, figure out what you know, how to stay ahead of it. And a lot of the people on the other end of that email, phone call, text message, whatever it is, they just don't care. Right? Yeah, that's where you get all the, we'll just fix it. I was like, I don't even know what your problem is, man. Like, what's broken? Can you explain it to me? Like, why are you telling me, like, what are you telling me to fix? They don't care. They just expect it to be like electricity. It just runs.
That's why we get the big bucks. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
No, I am. I'm going like that. That's why we can charge so much, because the expectations are so high. And you go, yeah,
I think you're charging more than the average guy. I think part of the problem is that MSPs, don't take my word for it. Was it Paul Dipple has years and years and years of data, whatever, now, whatever it's called, service leadership, whatever. Most of the MSPs are making money.
I've heard those numbers and they're shocking to me.
They're not actually making money. They're working for free.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard those numbers. I don't get it. I guess there's people that sell Yugos and people that sell Mercedes, and I guess it is what it is. But yeah, I've heard those numbers, George. Rob Ray shared them to me at one conference, and I was just shocked. I was entirely
like 50 to 70% of MSPs are either break even or are actually losing money every year. So, and part of the reason is why the person who's paying on the other side doesn't value it enough. And then we get back to the whole, hey, are you running a business or you're not? Are you setting out to actually make money, or is this and that topic's been talked about for as long as I've been in the sandbox. It's a long time. Joel, we're gonna see you at DataCon?
We won't be at DataCon, but IT Nation.
IT Nation. Okay, so that week in November 8th. Don't
Yep.
forget, we got the parties.
Oh, I got you. I now that you've teased the three, you said 3 bands from the late 90s. Are they all on stage at the same time? Are we going like a full mashup, or are we kind of like
full mashup? We're gonna make it interesting.
All right. Is that because each one of them's like lost a singer, lost a drummer over years or something, and so we're just like filling in some gaps? I'm just looking for some hints here.
I don't think so. I think it was just a cool idea, right? To just mash them up.
One big tour bus.
I mean, don't think that it doesn't cost less. It costs plenty, but it will definitely be, how many times have you seen the Spasmatics? Like 1,000. Switch it up, right? So yeah, we want somebody that isn't the local cover band, right? We want you to be like, I would have paid to see these people maybe at one point, or maybe you still would.
Oh man, I was really surprised. The All American Rejects were fun last year, but I was really surprised how many people they were the band for. We had a lot of some of our partners and friends who just were super thrilled, and I had no idea, but they're super fans, I guess, for each band, and All American Rejects certainly had their time in the sun. So
I mean, they've been on tour. They've been on tour all year. I feel like they're back out cracking it all over again. But yeah, it's a hard band. It's a hard act to follow up from. So stay tuned. I can't wait to press send on the button because I think it'll definitely make it interesting.
Good.
I'm sure Keith Nelson will be there. So don't worry.
I haven't booked anything.
You haven't booked IT Nation?
I guess I should. I don't know. I have to go make. Yeah, I haven't done anything yet.
You got to book the limo, book the flights, book the limo on the other side.
Yeah. Well, will we see you guys at Next Gen?
I'll be at Next Gen, or I won't personally be at Next Gen. I'll be sending people to Next Gen because I have to be on the other side of the ocean that day.
Because he's a big shot and he has, that's what he is. He
That's
sends
right.
his people.
That's right.
So I'll miss you at Next Gen. I'll see you at IT Nation. Hopefully we'll see Keith Nelson pop out for the end of the year. Joel, where do people find out more about Infima, the program, all the good stuff?
Yeah, our website's easy enough, infimasec.com, INFIMASEC.com. And excitingly, we've got on Monday, so by the time that this is pushed out, we've got our first channel chief who will be starting with us, a name that is familiar in the channel, person who is importantly high integrity and a good friend. So we're looking forward to that announcement coming out on Monday.
So maybe your announcement and the band announcement could be at the same time.
As a teaser, this person does have some musical skills. So maybe he or she could even hop up there. So.
Well, we'll stay tuned for that posting. Always nice running into you, my friends. And this session was recorded. We went a little bit all over the place, ping pong ball, but those are the fun sessions, to be honest. So we'll get that up on mspinitiative.com under sessions. Please don't, watch video while you're driving. There's an audio version. Be safe. See everybody soon. Hopefully you don't get stopped in TSA like George, and apparently like Keith Nelson, he just bypasses the eye thing, and I didn't realize Clear has a fingerprint thing. You learn something new every day. Take it easy, everyone. See you on the next one.
Thanks,
All right.
George. See you, Keith.
See ya.